Howdy, folks. Welcome back to Viva La Cats. I am your host, Justin Hiles, accompanied by my great friend, Joel Spencer, who is here stepping in for Steve today. You know how it goes around here. Sometimes we get him back in. Sometimes Steve's gone. Sometimes it's just a wild roster. But today we got Joel. Thank you for joining me. As always, remember that this is a 1012 network podcast, so you can find any and all of our content there. You can also find it, of course, on our own pages through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And as well, we're mainly on Twitter. We don't really do much on Instagram, but if you're there, stick with us. Joel, how you feeling, buddy?
I'm in a state of Bearcats purgatory, but otherwise, we got the holiday coming up. Things are going pretty well.
There you go. It is feast week, officially feast week. So consider this our Thanksgiving pod. We will say things that we're thankful for, but we'll say them at the end of the show after we get rid of all the things that we're not thankful for, because that's what we're here for this week. Unfortunately, it went about as poorly as it could this past week. The Bearcats, the entire city of Cincinnati, just crumbled at the seams. It was a horrendous weekend for any Cincinnati sports fan. In chronological order, if we just need to go back through, Bearcats basketball lost to number 6 Louisville and Heritage Bank Arena. That was Friday. Saturday, Bearcats football lost to BYU at home, big noon kickoff, whole stage, primetime television, and you did it to yourself, 100%. And then you get to Sunday, and then the Bengals lost, as I think we all kind of expected at this point. We kind of expected that at this point. And then you get to FC Cincinnati, and they're cooked. So, yes, that was the weekend of such. But again, this is a Bearcat-centric podcast. We are not going to be talking too much about the FC Cincinnati and Bengals side of things. We are going to mainly be talking about the Bearcats side of things. So, with all of that said, let's start with basketball. And we'll come back to football, because football, there's a bit to unpack there. But basketball, I have something that I wanted to share. And before we get to that, we'll just talk about the Louisville game and a little bit about the NJIT game that we just had happen last night. And then if you're listening on Wednesday of this week, we'll be previewing the Eastern Michigan game slightly, a little bit, not really much there, just general vibes. So yeah, Friday night, Bearcats basketball just unfortunately again slipped up in the Bearcats fashion, which was you played some great defense. You had an absolute shot at winning this game against a number 6 Louisville team in Cincinnati. The arena was packed out of Louisville fans, not Cincinnati fans. The entire broadcast sounded like a Louisville home game. For a neutral site, it sucks. But
Yeah.
Joel, how do we feel about that part in general? Just talking about the actual setup of the game here.
I mean, it sucks to lose home games. I think when you look at the Bearcats right now in today's, sports industry, in today's, just in the sports world today, we should consider ourselves a big name. We shouldn't be looking at making as much money as possible. We shouldn't be looking at, setting up these neutral games, quote unquote neutral, which, yes, it was in Cincinnati, but the fact that they had to come out with promo codes, like the university
Planet
coach,
Fitness.
yeah, Coach Miller had to come out with a Planet Fitness code to get discounted seats. It is just really sad. And I think when you loop in the Nebraska game from football, that was supposed to be a home game, moved to neutral at Indianapolis, which sounded like a great idea.
Perfect.
That one totally fair. But then moving it, I think just the decisions as a whole, um, they're not great. And you want these big atmospheres, you want these big opponents on campus. And so, you look at the Dayton games the last 2 years, and should those have been a neutral site? There's arguments
Right.
either way, but when you just look at the arena in general, Heritage Bank is just an absolute dog awful arena. I mean,
Yep.
even to go watch a Cyclones game, even to go watch Disney on Ice, even to go watch Monster Jam, it's just not a good stadium. It's stuck in the 90s. There's no room for expansion. I know there's a ton of proposals from the city to build a new arena for multi-purpose use, which I think would be great for
Yep.
hosting different events in the future. But we're talking about the Bearcats, and so I think for this game specifically, when you look at how we got out to an early lead and how, we were really playing well and just kind of fell apart in the end, I think that's where a home crowd really would have helped you.
Yep.
And that sort of environment with, Cincy students, Cincy diehards, um, it's I hate to use it as an excuse, but it is kind of hard for college kids to get downtown for those prices as well. Like when you
Mhm.
just talk about the convenience factor, students are
Oh yeah.
more likely to just walk into campus for, whether it's free student tickets that they claim or whether they buy student tickets. It's more likely for them to walk on campus because as college kids, all you care about is convenience. You're
Yep.
not going to go to, downtown for a Bearcats game when you can get another one for free on the following Monday night. And when you look at the fans, it's a 6:30 game.
Yep.
You know, peak rush hour during awful weather, it was really, really hard to actually get downtown for any of our fans. And so for Louisville, yeah, you kind of got to make a day of their fans. So
Yep.
they all knew they had to leave early, had to get
Take
to
the
the
day
arena.
off.
And I saw a ton of cards, fan accounts on Twitter just talking about how it was a Louisville home game. And you could tell on the broadcast, you could tell by pictures. And it's really sad to not have that as a home game because I think it could have gone differently. Do I think
Mhm.
Louisville is the better team at the end of the day? Yes,
Yep.
probably. But we could have been on upset watch. And unfortunately, we just didn't have that home crowd advantage.
Yep. I mean, I think that's very well put, quite honestly. I think, unfortunately, there's still, again, there's a lot of season left, and I want everybody who's listening to this episode this week to remember that as we speak about some things, that there is still a lot of season left. We understand that a lot of things could go right, but
Yeah.
that exact line that you said and that exact line that I just said is exactly what we have been saying for a long time is a lot of things could go right. There is a lot of potential. There is a lot of chance, but not a lot of execution. And I think that's kind of been the thing that it's like, all right, in these situations, if you want to prove that you're the program that you've always said you were, that you have been in the past, if you want to prove that you're that program now, you have to show it. There's a reason why I think a lot of people have lost respect for Cincinnati as a program or have stopped talking about Cincinnati as a program because, quite honestly, what is there to been to talk about? You haven't made the tournament. You can't beat any of these games in all these primetime games. You've come up short. Basketball, football, like that's what people watch. That's what people pay attention to, and you just haven't been executing.
Hmm.
And it sucks because there's so many fans, there's so many, but specifically the staff, the players, all of these people put so much time and effort and now so much money into all this. You have to get some dividends out of it. You have to give people a reason to do this. And I think especially for what we talked about for this game, at Heritage Bank, again, it ran up against the Elder St. X game the same night, which is a
Yeah.
fantastic game. Anybody who went there, everything that I heard from that, everybody was so glad that they went to that game because it was truly fantastic for Cincy uh, high school playoffs and just Cincy high school football. Like, I mean, it's about as good as it could get in
Oh, yeah.
Paycor. But all of that said, it's like you do have that as competition, which I don't think helps. I think a lot of those people probably would have ended up at that game. Um, but I think to the same respect too, like you have to be in such a position that like that shouldn't be a problem. Like you should be able to pack out that stadium and pack out, the high school game at the same time. You
And
shouldn't be competing that, but that's where we're at because I think this program is not in a point where you look at that game and you say, I think the Bearcats are going to win that. You're the chancellor is like, maybe I spend 60 to $100 to watch my team lose on national television. most people don't want to do that. It's just
Yeah.
the way it is.
And I think you brought up the high school game, and I think anyone outside of Cincinnati would go, "What do you mean you're going to a high school football game rather than going to, your basketball team take on the sixth ranked team in the country?"
Mhm.
And I think Cincinnati is arguably one of maybe 10 like metro areas in the entire country where we bleed high school football.
Yeah.
Like it is a powerhouse and a bloodbath every single year. So 22,000 fans going to watch a high school football game, some not even in school, like you have
Mhm.
alumni, you have different members of the community. I think there is probably a lot of overlap between Cincinnati season ticket holders and alumni of St. X and or Xavier or
Right.
and or Elder, excuse me. And so yeah, it's a poor excuse. But at the same time, I think you look at the uniqueness of a game at a rundown, stadium in Heritage Bank versus my alma mater is, filling up the Bengals stadium. That's pretty damn cool to see in a playoff, win or go home scenario. So, the competition didn't help, weather didn't help, the neutral site didn't help. But at the end of the day, would have loved for it to be a home game, but regardless of where it was played, um, you got to win the game.
That you do. I mean, you in these situations, you just have to. Like you've got to find a way to win these games if you want to put yourself back on that stage. I think playing
Yeah.
these games is very valuable. It clearly does show that it like helps you kind of gauge where this team is at. It helps the team prepare for when you get to the Big 12 conference slate because you don't want to go in there having played Xavier and
Yeah.
that's basically your schedule. Now you have Louisville on the schedule, you have Georgia, you have Clemson, you have X, you have Dayton. You've got all these good programs over, the past handful of seasons that have proven that they're good programs and are tournament quality for the most part.
Hmm.
You have to be able to win some of those games. Um, and so I think that kind of loops into where we'll go here in a minute. I want to cover one or two more things here. Again, in this game against Louisville for the Bearcats, number two, Ken Palm defense, Bearcats, did a fantastic job of locking up Louisville when they needed to. I think in this situation, I don't think that Louisville necessarily had the best offensive performance, but I do think a lot of that is attributed to the Bearcats defense in general. And I do think for the Bearcats side of things, you can be really pleased with that defensive performance. Unfortunately, they still just haven't found the rhythm offensively. They just have not done quite a good job of of showing the potential that I think this team has. Um, our friends over at Bearcat Bunch actually put this up, so I wanted to kind of just shout them out and share this information because I think it was really good to just kind of highlight this. Was the Bearcats' 3-point percentage thus far for this year and how they compare to their career numbers? Kirk Kriza is 28% this year over his career, which is 720 shots, 36%. So you're down. You're again 5 games in, small sample size. You have a lot of season to go, but you kind of want to get hot against the four terrible, not terrible. We're not going to say Dayton's terrible. You want to get hot at least against the 3 terrible teams that you've played, and then Louisville and Dayton. You want to prove that. Jalen Celestine, 26% this year, 37.5% career 3-point shooting. Baba Miller, 14% this year, 31% on the career. Mustafa Cham, 10% this year, 27% on the career. And then Sean Abayev, 26% and shot 34.5 in OTE.
Yeah.
It's
So
just one of those things where it's like, what happens to this team? Like, I get that there's chemistry, you got to gel. Some of these guys are in different positions. A lot of these guys that are listed here, all of the guys that are listed here are transfers. So they've had their situations, different teams, better situations. It is what it is. But you have to be able to figure this stuff out. You have to be able to prove that you can do this.
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if it's just a Cincinnati thing, but I feel like every year we have these players who have pretty high 3-point percentages that either transfer into the university or are supposedly great from beyond the arc, and just for whatever reason 3-point percentage has been our plague for, I mean, arguably 15 years, even going back to Cronin. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think we've ever had a team where it's like, oh, we're going to shoot the lights out every single night. Like, no, we are always in these grinded out defensive battles. And then when we face those teams that have great 3-point percentages, that's our Achilles heel. We lose
You get run out of the
every
gym.
single time, whether that
Yeah.
is against our foes up 71, whether that is on the national stage, whether that is in the 2018 NCAA tournament that got canceled. Like
Never
three
happened,
point
Joel. I don't know what you're
three
talking
point
about.
percentage has always been where we falter and just where we can never compete. And I don't know if it's just a Cincinnati curse or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that is really interesting too is when you look at how the teams have performed over the years, it's kind of snowballed into the spot where we are getting better at it than we used to be.
Yeah.
However, I think the thing is where we've gotten better at the threes, we've started to let go of other parts of the floor where we used to dominate, where I think we used to
Hmm.
be very prevalent as far as like points in the paint go. I think they're still good at that. But I think there's things where it's like you put this emphasis on threes, you're jacking up more threes, but you're also taking away a lot of those opportunities that you would take twos, that you would, try to space out the floor more and you try to have a down low threat and you have guys out on the arc that can kind of just do a little bit of everything. I think kind of the issue with how Wes has set things up, he has a lot of guys that are individually talented at a lot of different places, but I think sometimes these guys have specialties that kind of make them a little bit one dimensional and not necessarily a complete player. It's kind of like, okay, maybe you bring in this person for defense and you bring in this guy for 3-point shooting. Where's the guy that is the 3 and D? Where's the guy that
Hmm.
can shoot the mid range, that can, you know, do great, have great post moves down low, who can spread the floor out, who's great at passing and doesn't turn the ball over. Like there are people out there like that. I
Yeah.
think we just get the guys that are really special in one area. And sometimes that leads to a lot of hype about that one position of the game, that one certain aspect. But I think it kind of makes us falter in others, which
Well,
is, again, it's just part of the DNA of the team where it has a high upside, but it has a very low floor too.
for sure. And when we're talking specifically about this Louisville game, it was much closer than the final score shows. I mean, even when you go through the box score,
Hmm.
there's like every single stat is almost identical. 3-point percentage, Louisville was 8 for 28, we were 8 for 29. Free throw, or that was 3-point percentage. Free throw percentage, they were 86%, we were 63. That's definitely
Hmm.
one spot that we faltered, but the biggest thing that really defined the second half was just our sloppy play. When you look at turnovers, both teams had 13 turnovers throughout the
Yep.
game, but Louisville had 17 points off turnovers to where Cincy only had 7. And
Right.
we lost by 10. Like that right there, we were
Hmm.
not seizing these opportunities that we had. And I think, whatever you want to say was the root cause of that, we just got sloppy in the end. I think we lost whatever chemistry that we had. We lost the morale. We lost the momentum. And Louisville came back, found a way, and the Bearcats unfortunately collapsed.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like you look at this, the Bearcats did have a 4-point lead at the half, which, I think just shows that like they are able to compete in these games, but you have to be consistent till the end.
And
Like you have to be able to execute, and better teams always find a way to win in the end. That's
the
how it goes.
Bearcats' largest lead of the game was 11 points. The Louisville largest lead was 11 points. The only difference is just when those happened. Since these came
Yeah.
at the beginning of the game, Louisville's came at the very end. And that's when
Yeah.
the score matters. So,
And if I remember correctly too, again, this is another thing that I do think is, again, we can nitpick all this other stuff, and this will be my last point on the Louisville game. I think in both, if I'm correct, in both halves, I think the Bearcats got to the bonus first. And so when you get to that bonus situation with free throws, you really should be going hard in the paint. Louisville had 28 free throws in this game. The Bearcats had 16.
mhm,
So it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, okay, you can shoot the three. You do have the ability to do that. You have 3-point shooters, but if those opportunities present themselves, get to the line.
yeah,
Like just change up the game plan or something. And I think eventually that can help you, but they just continue to jack up threes and sometimes they're just not working. Again, both teams,
yeah.
like you said, 28 threes and 29 threes for Louisville and Cincinnati, respectively. it was a very even game by the way that the game flow went, but execution,
And I
Louisville
don't
just did
even
better, and that's
and I don't even know if you can use the excuse as well of it's a new team, they've got to learn to gel together, because that's the reality of college athletics right now. Like every year
yep.
you're going to have a new team with transfer portal, with incoming recruits. And so the teams that are successful are those teams that put the talent with the chemistry right away. And, even looking at the last couple of years of our basketball teams, that's been a big issue, is our team chemistry and is the effort level
Mhm.
across the board. So yeah, sucks to lose this game. Sucks that it wasn't at home. But you got to look forward.
That you do. We will. I will just very quickly recap the NJIT game in like 30 seconds. Um, Bearcats win 94-67. They're now 5-1 as the record goes. I am now seeing that I did not update our hoops little bracket at the top of our screen. That's fine. The
I
Bearcats are
wasn't gonna
five.
say anything, but I noticed.
I wish you would have said that. I would have fixed it. The Bearcats
Well, I
are five
noticed
and one.
after we started recording.
It's okay.
Oh
Five
well.
and one as the season goes. Again, 94-67. A very slow first half. They did pick it up towards the end of the first half. And then eventually, again, in this situation, the better team figures out, gets all the things in motion, and they start scoring. And they started to take off, ended up winning by 27, which was a good finish compared to how they had started the game. I think just kind of the big line from here, the freshman, Sean Abayev, 20 points on that game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, also 2 steals, which is great. I think he did perform really well there. You want to see that from him because you have to have him work. He has to work to be key to this team. And as that little bit that we shared from the Bearcat bunch earlier, you really do need these guys to succeed because you can see just how different it is when they are actually performing at the level that they were supposed to and not the level that they are performing at, if that makes sense. I think when you compare that to, you have Mustafa going for 15 and 10, which is really nice to see as well. And then I think the other big line just kind of coming from the bench there, Sincere getting 12 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. Like that's just great across the board.
Mhm.
I think everybody did good, but again, it's NJIT. I don't think there's a lot that we're really going to take away from that. There's 3 and 4. I think they were like 340 something in Ken Palm. This team is almost bottom of the barrel, like about as bad as it could get before you just drop off of Ken Palm. So again, not a lot to take away from that, but you can take away the fact that Sean did perform well in a game like this, and you need them to do that. Steve, I see. I'm so used to saying Steve. Joel, here's the thing. So we talked about the Louisville game. We're going to get to the BYU game here in a minute and then preview TCU, and then we'll be on our way out of here. After the Louisville game, I'm not going to lie. I was a little hot. I was not happy. I was just frustrated. Frustrated, right? We got to like 10 o'clock. And I said, you know what? I'm curious. I'm just curious. How bad actually are we record wise against everything? I just wanted to know how have we performed under Wes Miller? He's got 4 seasons under the belt. This is not like this is year 2 or even year 3. We're 4 full seasons going through 5 right now under Wes Miller. How's this team doing? I'll tell you what, buddy, the numbers are not going to make you feel better. We're just going to go through this list. I'm going to list these off just for listening purposes, not pleasure. It certainly is not listening pleasure. Let's look at it. So the Bearcats under Wes Miller, we've got a lot of numbers here to look through, but and we might kind of crop some of these off in the bottom. That's okay. They're margins. This is where we are. The Bearcats under Wes Miller versus AP top 25 teams. And let me start with this too. I really did not want to cherry pick here. I wanted to just put it out straight. So I even pulled some things that might actually kind of even it up a little bit. Still not too hot. As we were saying, AP top 25, the Bearcats under Wes Miller, 6 and 21. Average margin, 4.7 points behind. That's is what it is over his entire 4 seasons, now into the 5th, which includes this Louisville game. All of this data does go up through the Louisville game, by the way. Versus AP top 25s from the 23-24 season to now, 5 and 13. Not quite as bad because if you want to give them the break of the 2 years, we're looking for excuses here. This is what we're doing. This is what we do now. We look for excuses. We look for ways to put a nice little band-aid on things. 5-13, not great. Versus the Big 12, 17-27. Okay, you're figuring it out. Still pretty far behind the 8 ball. You're not 500 there. You're not 500 there. You're not 500 there. You're not even really in a good number in any of those. Versus the AP top 10s, 0-11. Versus Houston, 0-9. That's just both of those you just let go out the window. Granted, a lot of those Houston games are some of these AP top 10 games. I think it's about 5 or 6 of them because Houston has been very good for a long time. And then on the AP top 25s, we will also look at the ranks 16 through 25. Wes Miller is 3-2. So that is the only area where he is 500 or better against AP top 25 teams through 4 seasons. Now, if we're going to go to some other numbers, we're going to look at non-con games. Non-con, so this includes postseason. This include, which again, we're not talking about the NCAA tournament here. Non-con games, 8-8, 500. Then, if you go even a little bit deeper, a little bit further back, this is the one I feel like I didn't really realize. I think we just kind of forgot about it. We got so excited about the Big 12, so excited about all these quad 1 games, all these top 25 games that we're going to get, all these awesome things that teams that we're going to get to play now. Versus the American, 20-20, 500 record, flat, 2-point margin, positive. I'm at a point, Joel, where I pulled all these numbers and I tried to run them across everything I possibly could to try to make this seem better than it was. And I really couldn't. So I just kind of committed to it at this point. If we also look at the AP top 25, home record, neutral record, and away, 1-7 at home, 3-7 on neutral sites, 2-7 away. You have won 1 AP top 25 game in 4+ seasons at home in Fifth Third. That's sad. We'll go to the non-con. You're 4-1 against the ACC. Those are the Georgia Techs of the world. Versus the Big East, you're 2-4. Few of the Xavier games in there, of course. Versus the SEC, you're 1-1, and then versus the Pac in Big Ten, you're 1-2. I combine those because Arizona was 1 game. It's the only time we played against the Pac-12 before it died. RIP. I have just now given that whole collection of ear soup. What is your initial reaction to this? Because, by the way, for people listening and watching, this is Joel's first time seeing this.
It's not great. Really not great. I mean, maybe that's why Cunningham is trying to get us so many neutral sites, is because we have more wins against top 25
Statistically,
teams
yes.
on neutral
I don't
courts
know.
than either away or home. But man, this is I mean, if you were to ask me how the Bearcats have been under Wes Miller, I think the one word to sum it up truly is mid. Like, I wouldn't say bad. They're not bottom feeders. They're not dwelling in the basement of the Big 12 or of the American, but we also haven't made a tournament. And we also haven't been seeing any sort of success against ranked opponents.
It almost hurts more to hear you say mid than bad. Like it's just kind of it's like the difference between like, are you mad at me? Are you happy with me? No, I just don't care. Like that.
Yeah.
It's that. I'm just disappointed.
So it sucks. I think all of us miss a little bit of the consistency of, the Bearcats were a consistent tournament lock. Did we have tournament success? Not always. But it was something where you didn't go into the season saying, oh man, I hope we make the tournament. Like, man, if things really go our way, we can sneak in this year. It was a very like, okay, what's our seed going to be? Like, that was the discussion that we had. And to now, in year 5 of Wes, be saying, man, I really hope we make it this year. All these numbers just go to show it's really not that impressive. And I've been cautiously optimistic about the Bearcats, about Wes Miller. I like a lot of things that he says. I like the intensity that he brings. Uh, you know, but when you have the black and white stats in front of you, it's hard to defend.
It is. I mean, I think again, this is the point. This is the problem that I have with all of this is I can put all these numbers together and I can do all this and it just looks bad. The problem is like you look at Wes as a person and as a coach, and everything says like this is the guy. Like as a human being, this is 1,000,000% the person that you want running your program. I would look across most of college basketball. I don't know if there's any other coach that I would rather have than Wes when it comes to the person behind this team. When it comes to purely the person behind this team. I think
Okay.
that he is genuinely one of the most caring coaches for his players. I think he really understands how to get these guys in the door. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he does so many of those things really well. The problem is when you get to this point, it's like you have to kind of say it's like one of these if you have like a bad relationship, it's just one of these things that eventually you might get to a point where like we've tried everything. It's just not working. Like I don't know what else to say at this point. There's I don't know how to fix these things that they're just internally. I don't know if this is just a good match. And that's kind of the problem is everything that we've seen up to this point, you're waiting for the point where you're like, show me finally like who is the actual coach that we all know, not maybe all know, but we all have been told and all have believed that you can be like, and who's the person leading this program that can actually take it to the next level as we've all hoped. And unfortunately, we've just never got to that next level. And the problem here, Joel, that I think everybody looks at, this is almost, I think, kind of the inherent issue with all of this is with Wes, you're hoping to get back to where you were. You're not even hoping to be better than you were. You're just
Yeah.
hoping to get back to where you were. And I think that's a key difference that we really don't talk about much. And I think it's just kind of a tough thing to realize because in this day and age, you look at some programs, you're going to have your lulls. You're going to be good some years, you're going to be bad some years. But there's some teams that have just continually stayed at the top. And I think Cincinnati did that for a long time. And yes, we were in the limelight for a long time. But now we're just at a point where it's like we just want to be decent. We want to be like serviceable to get to the tournament. We want to have that team that just like we've got something to talk about in March. But instead, we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting and I just don't know if this team cannot figure it out this year. I think the experiment has run its course. I think you've given it as much as you can to say all of this, all of that, no matter what we've done, there were just some things that might not work and you might need to move on. As much as I hate that because I really do think Wes is the right guy. But I don't know if you can't back it up with wins, how do you just continue what you've been doing?
Yeah. And there's something to be said for the culture that he brings. There's something to be said for the talent that he brings in. Um, but when you're talking about the talent, you know, that hasn't translated to the league really. Like there's
Mhm.
no true successes, whether it's through NBA rosters or whether it's through actual wins on the court that you can really speak to.
Yeah.
And I think that there is such a thing as recency bias. And it goes both ways. If things are high, you can forget about, oh, we were bottom dwellers last year, or oh, there was this controversy in the past, but damn, he's, taking us to new heights. But when you don't have the success, that's where you start to lose your patience. And that's where
Mhm.
you start to go, okay, like this has to be the year or else. And that's been a lot of the feedback that I've heard from different media pundits, from different fans, like this has to be the year. You
Yeah.
know, we we've invested so much in your vision, in the program that you want to run, and we've not seen success in any facet.
Yeah,
Whether that's draft, whether that's like
that's a great
national
point too.
accolades. And so, or whether it's even making tournaments, like, yeah, still playing basketball after the conference tournaments ends. There's something to be said for that, but it's not in the dance.
Hmm.
It's you don't get to see the name Cincinnati when the entire country is filling out your brackets. And
Right.
I'll tell you what, the second that people see Cincinnati in a bracket, they're going to think back to, oh, Cincinnati, like, good to see them again, because they were so consistent for so many years. Like, you would always see them. Um, so we have to get back there. And whether it's not making the tournament, whether it's losing to X, no matter what the knock against this season could be,
Yeah.
I think you really have to hit a home run from here on out of, not necessarily that he's coaching for his job, because I think the state of Cincinnati sports as a whole, from professional to collegiate, it's
Yeah.
pretty damn hard to lose your job in the city
Yeah.
of Cincinnati. You can lose for a long time, or you can be mid for a long time and still have pretty damn good job security. And so I think, this year he's 100% coaching for the fans. I don't know if he's coaching for the athletic department or for his job, because I think the fans, this is the last chance that we're giving him. Um, Whereas I can't speak for,
Right.
Mr. Neutral Site, John Cunningham.
Yeah. I mean, and those are all great points too. I think inherently you have to, if you're West this year, you have to be able to prove that you've just you made progress. And I think that if this year comes up short again, it just comes back to the point. It's not even a what have you done for me lately. It's like, what have you done? It's like what
Yeah.
have we done as this program since you've been in charge? We didn't do anything under John Brannon. We haven't done anything under Wes Miller thus far. I mean, I know again that like for somebody who works as hard as he does and puts as much effort and care into this team, it is really great for Wes to have that. But the problem is like these things have to connect, and it's one of those things where sometimes I think water finds its level. Water finds its level, man. And if we're at this point where it's just not clicking, I don't know if for a while I think we were almost scared. We were like, what if Wes like were to leave and then he's really good somewhere else? Like what if he went to like UNC and then it all just clicked or something like that?
Yeah.
The problem is if you look at Wes now, do you think that he would get that opportunity? And if
Yeah.
you don't think that your coach would get that opportunity to take that next step up, I don't know if you have the right guy, because that means that your program's not recognizable enough.
Hmm. And once again, like, truly adore Wes Miller, the person,
Yeah.
and the coach that he is for the face of the brand. But when you're specifically talking about on the court results, to those that are just listening at home, I encourage you. I'm Justin, I'm sure you're going to post this graphic.
Oh yeah.
But this is jarring to look at and see it all laid out in front of you. Um, because it's not great.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to make a point on this, because we're running up some time here, and we still have to talk BYU football, or well, Bearcats football. It's BYU at this point. Here's the thing: there's a lot of red on here. There's not a lot of green, and there's some yellow. And I try to make the yellow as big as possible to make it seem a little bit more neutral. That's the best I could do. Here's the thing: all of this laid out, all of these things that we've said, the bottom line is improvements have to be made. Like you
Mhm.
have to execute this year. And if you don't, it's at least for like you said, for the fan base, I think it's the end of the line. I
Yeah.
don't know anybody else who's just waiting for this guy to get something to click anymore. That's where we're at. And that's where it's going to have to be. And I think if you want to have almost some self-respect as a program, you kind of have to say, you know what? It's going to have to make a move.
And I think when you look at sports as a whole, right? Whether you're a coach, whether you're a player, your job is to win games. Your job is to find success, to win trophies, to win, championships, accolades, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not doing that, you're not succeeding in your job. And whether you work in business or retail or whatever the case may be, it might not necessarily be as cutthroat. I'm sure there are environments out there that are. But when you're specifically talking about sports,
Mm-hmm.
it is based around the conversation of what have you done and
Yeah.
what have you won.
Here, I'll add this as a last point, and I think that this is kind of one of those things that this isn't always fair, but if you think about the fact that this guy is making about $3 million a year, that's a lot of money. And it's
Hmm.
kind of one of those things is like, if you're making that much money, think about just if you're listening, we're not going to throw any numbers out there because I know everybody's across the board, but if you are making whatever you're making in your salary, divide 3 million by that. Think about how long of your lifetime it takes just to get 1 year of what this guy has to do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those
Um,
things where I'm like, it's not always fair. Like it's a different game. You've kind of earned that contract. I get it, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like comparatively, you have to really think is like, okay, I think everybody works really hard at their jobs, and sometimes there's places that might be too big for you. Some places you might outgrow, but there's some places that might be too big for you, or you might not be able to handle it. I just don't know if we're at a point where we're able to handle that.
and once again, recency bias is a thing in sports. If
Yep.
we make the tournament and we go on a run, we will be saying completely different things in 6 months. So
Yeah.
if we get clipped in 6 months, or hey, Wes or any of the players, if you guys listen to this podcast or if you see this clip anywhere, hey, I will happily eat my words. If we find success. But
Easily.
if you're just looking at what has happened and not what might happen, you got to ask some questions.
Yep. Got to deliver. That's the
Hmm.
thing. That's all. That's I think all anybody's asking for is just make it happen. Just
Yep.
make it happen somehow. That was a lot.
Um, but Justin, to answer your question, it would take me like 4 years to make Wes's salary. So
Oh wow. Yeah,
yeah.
big money man over here.
Hmm.
He's rolling in the dough there, guys.
Yeah.
We'll just leave you
Yeah.
at that.
Um, I'm on the socials.
It would be far upwards of 30 years for myself. As a
I
normal
don't know.
American, it's we've got a lot. We've got a lot of years ahead of us to just get some
You
of
don't get
taste of
you don't get the Viva La Cats residuals.
oh, those dividends they really pay, Joel. I
Mm.
forgot about those, We were anyways, all of this said, we got to talk about football and then we'll try to keep this short because as best as we can. It's just what happens when Joel and I are in. We're just gonna let it rip. Football. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's kind of the same conversation.
Mhm.
It's really no different than everything that we just said. I think if you ran the numbers, I think if you did everything that you possibly could to make these comparisons, they're not all that different. If you take percentages, you take the sample size, and um, you expand it to make it match, it's probably not all that different. And I think here's the issue. You look at the BYU game this past weekend, you had big noon kickoff, you had a great crowd come up for that. You had a lot of fans show up for the game. It was a nip at night. It was a blackout. It's great. Everything you could possibly ask for. All the things were there. The fans showed out. You did what you had to do, and it looked great. Everything on paper looked great. Your team, you had some guys that were listed as out or probable. They ended up all playing. You've got the guys there that you need. BYU comes in, and all credit to BYU. They actually played a little bit of a sloppy game for BYU standards. And they gave you so many opportunities, and yet you couldn't cash in. And here's the thing. In I have this weird duality of Scott Satterfield, and I think this is kind of the same issue with Wes, where it's like there's some things where I'm like, man, I really want to blame this guy. West, I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, there's a lot of talent here, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. With this, I don't know if maybe more of this goes on the players this week. I think in this situation, a lot of these failures didn't really come up to scheme as much as they came up to execution.
Yeah.
You got 3 missed kicks. The 4th and 1 call, bad play call. When you're in the end zone, it was one of those things where you gave way too much time. You just got to get that first down. You don't even have to punch it in. Just get the first down. You got to get 1 yard. And it's just kind of a weird call that's way different than the same one that you just did 45 seconds, 60 seconds before that game time up the
Mhm.
field on your half. You called it on 4th and 1 and you punched it straight through, no problem. You got the exact same situation. You do some tricky stuff and then you get burned on it. That's 7 points left off the board. Then you lose 3 kicks, 3, which is crazy. All of that happens. You leave 18 points on the board and this game just finishes in a way that I don't know if anybody could have imagined it to be this bad.
Don't forget the other red zone trip where we fumbled and had the 10-minute review afterwards.
It
So
again, it's
there, yeah, 100% to your point. BYU played sloppy. The Bearcats played sloppier. We had some really big plays. We just did not execute when it came time to actually score the points. And
yeah,
there is some truth as well behind when you look at the Bearcats' performances coming out of halftime. I think we've been outscored. I forget what the exact stat was, but I think it was in 7 of 8 Big 12 games. We've been outscored in the third quarter, and the
oh
one
yeah,
that we didn't get outscored was a 0-0.
yep,
So
UCF.
we are, it's consistently, if we don't have a big enough first half lead, teams continue to just chip away and come back at us. And that does come down to game management. But when we're down, what was the stat showed on the broadcast? Was it 0 and 13 when trailing at
15,
half, or 0 and
15.
15 when trailing at half? So if you have a lead and you get outscored in the third quarter and teams start to climb back, or if you are losing at halftime and you never come back, that does speak to coaching, and that does speak to scheme and play calling and game planning and how you're managing the game. But specifically with BYU, it comes down to points that were not scored,
Yep, and
and
that's
you had the crowd behind you. You had Nip at Night, you had the sellout, you had everything that could have gone your way to give you the advantage, even BYU not playing well,
yeah,
and you
that
fall
was the
short.
biggest advantage of itself.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing is like I think that's again, it's the same thing that we say for every single game that that is a loss. Like it's always I feel very rarely in Bearcats football and Bearcats basketball since basically COVID. I feel very rarely that you look at a game and say, we played our asses off, but we just lost. I think the for basketball, I could say, you remember that Arizona game?
Yeah.
It was
And
93, like 101. You scored a crap ton of points. The other team just scored more points, but you scored 93. Like you were just
and
putting them up.
for football last year, I'd say Texas Tech. Like
It's
that was
Texas
another
Tech,
one.
absolutely. Great
Yeah.
example. Great examples on
Um,
both sports of where you did everything you possibly could. And sometimes it's just not enough. And that's okay. But that's the thing is like you executed as best as you could and it just didn't work out. And I think everybody can look at that game and you know what? It's a loss, but I feel really good about it. I feel good about this loss because I know that like this team actually played just to the end, all 4 quarters as hard as they could. And I think it's one of those things where it's just like the sloppiness catches up with you. And that's
and
the thing that's got Bearcats every time.
And when you also look at what was at stake, that's the extra twist of the knife, right? Like we were still in contention for the Big 12 championship.
Yep.
That's out. We were ranked and we had Sorsby and Heisman conversations, or on different watch lists. That's out. We started 7-1. We are now 7-4. Like we are looking at ending this season on such a big skid.
The exact same way we did last year.
Correct. And at least we'll make a bowl game, but what game? We were looking at potential championship hopes or potential playoff hopes, or even the damn Pop Tart Bowl that I think is the premier bowl game
Yep.
outside of playing in maybe the semifinals.
And now that's
Um,
gone. Like that's you don't even have a shot at that now.
yeah.
Like quite
So,
honestly, like when you lost to Arizona, you lost that. You
mhm.
might have had a chance if you beat BYU, but now that you lost to both of them, that's done. Like
and
you have no chance.
and even if we won against Arizona, yes, Fox Big Noon was really cool. We got Portnoy reviewing different pizza places throughout the city. We still got the national attention, but we probably would have had game day. They went back to Oregon for the second time this year alone
Yeah.
because there was no other marquee matchup. It was Cupcake Week for the SEC. And, we could have had a ranked matchup, Bearcats versus BYU. But instead, we lose. We don't get, the big attention. And it's just looking like we're slipping, just like we did last year, just like we do in the second half of every game that we play.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a great point. Honestly, I don't know if I could have said that better myself, Joel. It's the second half of everything. That's kind of been the thing with Scott Satterfield. It's like your first half, nobody's doubting you. The
Hmm.
second half or the end of the first half, people start asking questions. And the second half, that's when things really just go nuts. And that's again, 3-9 the first year. Last year, 5-2. You end 5-7. You end on a 5-game losing streak. Right now,
Yeah.
you're staring down the barrel of a 4-game losing streak to end your season, and then you have a bowl game. And who knows who you get in that bowl game? Maybe you get a team that's playing balls to the walls and they got something to prove. And
Yeah.
I just don't know. I'm telling you, man, it's the same thing. And here's the problem: is like you look at the situation with Wes and you look at the situation with Scott, and it's kind of one of those things where you say, okay, for Wes, this is a year make or break. For Scott, this should be the year make or break, but because of the contract situation, for same thing for Wes too, but because of the contract situation, you're kind of in a bind. I don't know if no matter what happens, you kind of get to a situation where you're like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we won 7 games. We won 2 more than last year, and we won 2 more than the year before that. So if we win two
And
more every year, we're on an upward trend to get to 9. Maybe we'll be okay.
and,
And
and
that's
you
hope.
look at and you look at Satterfield again, as the players love him, and he's getting
Yeah,
these highly touted transfer classes, not
right.
necessarily recruiting classes, but hey, we've been finding success. Like, our offensive line is pretty damn good, and it's because of this transfer portal.
Yep.
And so it's very hard to judge, like, let me rephrase this, because it's easy to judge, right? um but what it's hard to do is weigh the balance between the person versus the coach, and
Yep.
it comes right down to our basketball conversation as well. What results do you have? And hey, we had a field storm this year against the highest ranked team that we've beaten in a pretty long time. That was cool. We probably
Mhm.
could have had another one had we won on Saturday. We could have had college game day show up. We could have had a chance at the conference title in Satterfield's third year. And it's just, once again, it's all the what ifs that haven't come true. And so at what point do we take a step back and go, hey, here's the reality, here's the black and white numbers, and we're really not doing too much.
Yeah.
And it's a hard conversation to have, but I think Bearcats fans over the last 5 years specifically probably post COVID,
Yep.
um, all of our sports teams have fallen just short of any sort of success. Take out the Bengals, but even they did technically fall
They
short.
fell short.
But when you look at Bearcats football, when you look at Bearcats basketball, it's always left you wanting more. And
Yeah.
you've never ended a season going, hey, I'm
I
proud
can
of that.
ride this for a few years.
Yeah, like, you go, great, next season will be better. I'm tired of looking forward to next season. I want success now.
Yeah.
And I think Bearcats fans are allowed to be impatient.
That's fair. I mean, that's fair. I think that's kind of the inherent problem with the entire city of sports in general is just everything is like you're just waiting for something. You're waiting for the Reds to do it. You're waiting for FC Cincinnati to do it. You're waiting for the Bengals to do it. You're waiting for the Bearcats to do it in football or in basketball. Hell, if you really just are a fan of just Southwestern Ohio, even if you're not a Bearcats fan, you might be waiting for Xavier to do it. Nobody here is doing it. Nobody in
I
this group
think
is doing it. And it's
I
just
think Cincinnati's a hard city to win in for sports regardless because you're considered a smaller market. And college sports are competing directly with the big professional sports. Like you look at all these college towns and that is it, you know, where universities have no other major competition. Whereas Cincinnati is very unique to where we have major collegiate programs that have a historical track record of being pretty good. Um, we have we're in the Big 12 now, so I would consider us to be a major program. Um, we have Final Four success. We made a college football playoff. I would consider the Bearcats to be a major program. You're competing against the Bengals and the Reds. The city itself is starving for success. And it's a hard city to win in, I think, because the fans have grown so impatient over the last 20, 30 years since any sort of playoff success. But when it happens, you'll be revered as a god. You look at the
it's true.
2021 Super Bowl run and Zach Taylor going to different bars and handing out footballs. Oh my God, that man could, shoot a man on Fifth Avenue
Key to the
and be
city.
named the next president.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but now people are calling for his job
Yeah.
because even though we're just a few years removed from that run, you haven't had success. And that's where the "what have you done for me recently" conversation comes into play. And both with Satterfield, both with Miller, and with Zach Taylor as well, that's the question of I'm tired of playing the what if, and we need to look at the actual results. And when
Yeah.
you look at Zach Taylor without Joe Burrow, he's a dog shit coach. When you look at Scott Satterfield's second half of games and second half seasons, you go, what has happened? When you look at Wes Miller against top 25 opponents, you go, dude, what are you doing? And I think just to summarize the city of Cincinnati and our sports opinions, just give us something.
Yeah.
Just give us something.
I
To
mean, look what
whoever's out there making these decisions, even FCC, who's had amazing years the last 3-4 years in a row,
yeah.
has fallen short in heartbreaking playoff fashion.
Oh yeah. I mean, you go up was it 2-0 on the Crew and then you lose 3-2. You lose 0-4 against Inter Miami this past weekend. Knocking out of the playoffs. It's kind of one of those things where it's like you look at that program, you look at that professional sports organization. You look at the Reds, they finally made the playoffs, but look what happened when they made the playoffs. Like everybody's like, oh my God, finally somebody just got there. That's all we're asking for. We don't
Yeah.
I think we're just at the point where again it sucks as a city because again, as we've said so many different ways today, you're just looking to be in the conversation. You're not even looking to win. You're just looking to be in the conversation. You want to have a seat at the table. And
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the problem with the city in general is everything's cheap, everybody's cutting corners, and everybody's coming up short. And I think you're just looking for ways for a team to really invest. And that's where I do think when you look at FC Cincinnati, they are at least investing in talent. They're investing in paying players, getting the contracts to work out for them in their favor, signing things that are favorable, and they're at least getting the playoffs. Yeah, they got cooked. You have a bad game, it sucks. But you had a season that you can look back on, you say, wow, even 5 years from now, it's like, that was a great team. There
Mhm.
was a lot there. Yeah, we came up short, but hey, like we actually got there at least. We had a chance. We have something to talk about instead of, yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, that team had some cool guys on it, but they didn't do anything.
Like, oh, remember the the truck stick game where our guy had, two or three trucks in one game? Like, that's the highlight of the season right now.
Yeah, Tolly
Um,
Walker destroying
and
Iowa
so
State
I
with
think you
no
can
corners.
I think you can absolutely take a moment to reflect on, you know, what this era of Bearcats sports has given us. You look at the indoor practice facility. That is
Oh yeah.
top of its class, pretty damn good. Jamar Chase
Yes.
was practicing there this past week and had great things to say about it. You look at Cincy Reigns, who's actually doing a pretty damn good job with the NIL era. Um, you know, Cincinnati as a whole, I think, or at least the University of Cincinnati, they're doing they are putting in the effort. I think similar to FCC, but it's just the on-field and on-court performances that are falling short.
Yep. Yep. And that's the thing. It's like it's you can only have everything fall short for so long before everything starts to catch on fire.
Yep.
And it really does feel like that. I think if you're looking for a metaphor, you have a bunch of small little fires happening all in different places, and right now you have the point where all of them are joining up to the middle, and it's just, I mean, it's rolling. That smoke is rolling right now, and I think people are just tired of it, man. And
Yeah.
again, like you said, all that anybody's asking for is just to give you something, give you something to like really just hold on to and feel good about, because we're not doing it at the end of the
Yeah.
season. We're not doing it in the middle of the season. You do it at the beginning, and that's about it.
And
Um,
and do I think that we're a spoiled fan base by saying this? Maybe. Like, I think that there
I
are
don't know
some
if you can say that though.
I I think that there are some poverty programs who would say, "Man, I would love to just make a bowl game." Like, haven't been to one of those in 10 years. Man, I would love to be a 500 basketball team. We've won 5 games in the last couple years. Like, I think that there are some
Mm,
programs
the
who would love to be where we're at, but for us and for what we've had, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, there's a certain level of expectation that a program has. And I've mentioned this before. There's a certain level of self-respect that certain programs have, and some don't. Quite honestly, it's like some, yes, they want to be there, they want to get there, but they don't do the things to invest to get to that level.
Yeah.
I think a great example of this exact conversation is look at some of the, look at some of the lower like G5 teams across the conference or across the country in football. And then look at a team like JMU. JMU just got promoted and they are busting people's ass right now.
Mhm.
And that's, you know why that is? Because it's investment. You get the right hires. You do the things necessary to perform at a high level.
Yep.
That situation is far different than all the other teams that have just been rolling around in the muck and are okay with accepting that, nah, I mean, this is just a sports team that we have, and we kind of have to keep it going, and we got to keep people invested because we make money off of it. And I
Mhm.
think that's the thing is, for a lot of teams in the city, you just got to keep people on the edge. You got to keep them hooked. You don't got
Yeah.
to you don't got to give them anything. You just got to keep them spending their money. You got to keep them buying Joe Burrow jerseys and Jamar Chase jerseys, and you got to make sure that they show up to the games. You can't get too far out to where they put bags on their heads and they don't show up, because you know what they do? They drafted Joe Burrow and then they go to the Super Bowl. I
The
think
bet
we're just at a point where you need the teams to really fail hard if you want them to listen.
Yeah. The most successful sports franchises are those that are not run as a business. They're not in it to make money. They genuinely care about winning. You've got to
And
have that
they care about their program.
Yep.
Yes.
And you've got to have that competitive nature across the board, whether it's NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, MLS, whatever it is. From top down, there has to be a level of, I want to be the best, I want to compete. And if you're not putting the resources in to get there, then there are issues.
Yep.
And so this is a long-winded way of saying, hey, really would have been nice to win the BYU game, but
It would have been
um,
nice to win anything this weekend. Yes.
yeah. And so to whoever had the parlay of anti-Cincinnati, good on you.
Good on
That's
you.
thinking with your head, not your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been smart. And again, if we're to be fair, none of these teams were favored. However, all of the games were at home. And home field advantage, home court advantage should mean something.
Hmm.
And yet, that is the point where we're at where it pretty much means nothing.
Yep.
So, all that to say, it's been great having you on this week, Joel. We've talked a bunch. We could not possibly talk anymore. We could, but we shan't.
Yeah, you and I get to rambling, and oh my, like we just filled over an hour without Steve.
That we did.
So,
Easy peasy, lemon
and
squeezy.
we had two topics,
That we did.
Louisville and BYU.
But hey,
So we,
got a
you
show
know, when two girls start yapping, they can't stop.
that they do. They get real catty here.
Hmm.
So yes, again, we're going to be sharing this graphic at least for the west side of things, and maybe that I don't know. Maybe it starts a conversation. All that we're really trying to do here with that is kind of highlight. Okay, you know what? This is where we're at. Where are we going? That's what we want to know. And I think as long as these teams continue to not continue, as long as these teams really do show the effort of making that next step, and starting to prove some people wrong and starting to shut people like you and me up. Once they start doing that, I think we'll all be happy to keep our mouths shut and we'll keep them zipped as much as we can. But we got to get there, folks. So thank you all for listening this week. We appreciate it. We hope that you enjoy your feast week. Again, it is Thanksgiving week. So we will cap off the show with the final part of our show this week, which is what we are saying we are thankful for. I will say this before I say my other things that I'm thankful for. We are thankful to be part of the 1012 network. As always, make sure to check out the 1012 network on Twitter. There's plenty of great coverage there. Also on Instagram, you can find the website. You can find Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, all of the different places where the 1012 network is and all of the amazing shows within it. We are thankful to be part of that network because it is always a lot of fun. And we get to collaborate with some people and bring some other people onto the show, join some other shows. It's a lot of fun. So we're thankful for that. Joel, what are you thankful for?
Real talk or like Cincinnati themed?
What are you real talk thankful for?
Real talk, I am thankful to have received a promotion at work in the last couple months. I am thankful to have two healthy puppies that just turned 2 years old last week. I am thankful to be in a very loving marriage. And I'm thankful to have such great friends that will all be in town on Friday and are going to make me run my suicides from the
Unalive,
basketball, from,
unalive, Joel.
unalives from the basketball fantasy draft back in the spring. So just thankful for all of that. And I hope that come Saturday, I'm thankful that my heart continues to beat after however many unalives that I have to do.
Well said, Joel. I am thankful for just great, good health. It's just good to be not having to worry about a lot of things. I think a lot of people, across the country right now, of course, and everybody's got a different situation, but our biggest complaint right now, we're yapping about sports. There's a lot more real things I think that are going on out there for a lot of people, and so just to be thankful for having some things in order and having a safe place to live and having a roof over our heads, and having loving families and friends. That's what it's all about. So I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for all of our listeners chiming in this week. We appreciate your ears. And if you have made it thus far through the show, we appreciate you getting to this point. Drop a comment, leave a like, share us with your friends. We appreciate all of that. But again, we appreciate your support because, I think we do this mainly because we love to talk with each other. It's our favorite thing to do, and it just gives us another platform. But it also, having the support of our listeners, I think, really does give us that extra edge every week and tries to keep us consistent and bring us back. So we appreciate you guys. And all that said, let's go eat some turkey, Joel. We got some good stuff on the menu this week. We will regroup as a collective trio later this week, so we're excited for that. But until then, everybody stay safe, drive safe wherever you're going. We're coming up to Cincy tomorrow, so we're going to try to drive safe. Everybody, take care this week. Viva
La Cats.
and viva la turkey.